So, dude, let's start off once again with the cheers. I mean, watch out for the ship, man. Cheers, buddy.
Oh, leave it up to me. Leave it up to me.
Like literally 3 seconds into it, and you almost spilled beer on the electronic controls, man.
I've got a bad track record at this. I took a sip before we toasted last time.
Yeah.
And now.
I blame Wicked Rain though, because you're usually pretty smooth.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know what it is about this place. You know?
Yeah. It's guys like this guy, Tony.
Nicely, he's going to rope it off for us here.
Tony, heck yeah.
Just keep the crowds back, you know?
Yes, yeah. They're knocking the doors down, man. They're waiting, ready to come in. They do open in 1 minute from now. So
yeah.
It is Monday, February, is it the 20th?
February 20th.
20th,
yes.
President's Day. Wicked Rain has all 40 taps.
All 40 taps are Arizona beers from 23 different breweries.
That's incredible, man.
So an absolutely loaded list. Like a great spot to be as we're celebrating Arizona Beer Week. To come down, I mean, you could try something from all over the state. I mean, this is one-stop shopping.
For sure. And it was, I think it was a little, they enjoyed it, but also they're the Pacific Northwest folks. They got some beers on tap that for me, I was like, oh man, wonder what new IPA they got from Stoop. And I know they have them in cans, but it goes against, I won't say it goes against the brand a little bit, but this is a Pacific Northwest.
A Pacific Northwest one. And, but what they do a good job of too is, like you'd mentioned Stoop. I wasn't familiar with Stoop until I came in here, and they had done the collab beer with Wicked Rain.
Yep.
And a phenomenal beer. And it really turned me on to, like, the next time I came in, I saw a Stoop beer that wasn't, their collab beer. I was like, oh, I got to have that.
Yeah.
And now they do have, I'm leading the day off with, I already forgot the name of it, but it's a Wren House American IPA. And he had mentioned what they tried to do with this beer was a little bit of a classic IPA, a little bit of a throwback, the way they used to be made, Pacific Northwest beer. 9.3%. Lead it off on President's Day. Thanks for the day off, everybody.
9.3%, my friend. That is, you're getting the day started right. You're a teacher.
Yep.
You have this day off.
This is it. I've earned it.
Yes. I've
earned this day off.
It's called Since 2015 is the name of the beer.
Okay.
Since 2015, yep.
Probably a tip of the hat to when they opened.
Yeah, well, it says we reach back deep into the archives for an old school Imperial IPA recipe, specifically the glorious times of 2015. Yeah, so maybe when they first opened. But so does it have that? Because I picture then like
it's
like what is it? The Pliny.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little bit of the Pliny. Definitely the IBU scale, a little bit higher. But
yeah, it's like 90
I love
something.
it. And Tony had mentioned. He's like, "You sure you want to go for it? Do you want to sample it?" And I was like, If I don't like it, it would be the first beer ever from Wren House that I never liked. So,
right.
Wren House does amazing stuff there, so I really enjoy their beer.
Well, dude, cheers to that. I've got some old Ellsworth. I'm trying to go a little bit lighter these days.
Yeah.
Because the hazies and the IPAs, they're just so good.
Yeah.
And I can drink liquid very fast, man. So this is Bing Bong. This is their light lager.
Yeah. I picked up a 4-pack of theirs,
good.
the Bing Bong. I think they just recently started bringing in a mobile can service.
Yeah, actually, they got a canner.
Oh, did they?
They've got their own canning machine, from canocanner.com. I'm also a sales rep for them, so.
Okay. Shameless plug. I love it.
It was perfect. That was a perfect setup, man. I appreciate it.
I like that.
But, so cheers to all Arizona beer. It's Arizona Beer Week. And although this is not part of Beer Week, it is now in the last 4 years. This will be the 5th year, right?
This is
for
the fourth year.
Fourth year. It follows Beer Week just because it goes with March Madness. But why are we here today?
We're here to break in and kind of inform people and celebrate the beginning of the Arizona Brewers Bracket.
Yeah. Love it, man. Love it. Did you have any idea that it would take off the way that it did?
I was not aware that it was. And for most people who aren't familiar with the Brewers Bracket, so 4 years ago, COVID shutdown, March Madness, one of my favorite times of the year, the college basketball tournament, got canceled.
It was almost about to get started.
It was
right?
it was very abrupt. It was we're not going to do the no fans in there. We're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
And crushing, as everybody's kind of locked in their homes, you're thinking, okay, at least if I can have this escape with, the college basketball tournament that's so prevalent in March, it'd be awesome. So
even people that don't really like I don't want to say don't like sports, but aren't into like college basketball and stuff, like March Madness is like a draw.
Right.
You get stoked for it
Oh,
because
yeah.
there's magic around it.
And, we do pools every year for March Madness, and it happens at, people's works or offices. And, the lady from accounting who never watches a minute of basketball will fill out a bracket, and she somehow ends up
wins.
Yeah,
for
wins
sure.
win the pool.
All the beer, all the basketball people are like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
She was picking the cutest mascots
Yeah.
or whatever,
Exactly.
It's like,
yeah.
So, yeah, that was crushing. And I remember sitting around on a Sunday, I was having some beers, and I thought, wait, wouldn't it be cool if we did like a Brewers Bracket, right? And we had a little tournament with the breweries in Arizona. Hey, let's pick 48 since we're state 48.
Yeah.
And we'll seed them into a tournament of 48, and we'll do a little fan vote on Instagram, and we'll do it every other day since the Instagram voting window is like 24 hours. And everybody was looking for something to do at that time.
Yeah.
And we were kind of living on social media to connect with other people, and it was people love it.
Yeah.
People love it.
People go crazy about it, man. Like it's like you talk with me about the engagement that you get over the last few years from this, and it's incredible, man. It's awesome. I love that. I think there was one year too that we did something, and you even snuck in like an ad for like what we were doing, whether it was a beer release, might have been Tap That Hazy release, and you put it out, and it just got so much traction.
So you think of 48 breweries in a tournament, you need a page on each matchup for your story. So I was coming up with different ways to support local through that. You put an image of a Taste of AZ magazine or something to do with Tap That AZ podcast, and then you add, the voting link on there so people see a cool image from, a restaurant or a local brewery or a tap house, and then they're there to vote, but then they see the picture and they think, oh, shoot, that's a really cool looking spot.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
And then they go and do some investigating, which kind of brings me to the point of like, if you're a tap room or a bottle shop or a brewery and you're wondering like, okay, how does the bracket support what I do? The term we've come up with is it's basically bringing consumers to the digital doorstep of these business owners.
Yeah.
Where the consumers who are fans, if like I'm a fan of, I told you I was drinking Wren House's beer. It's, putting them in contact, Wren House will shout out someone who comments on, the voting page, like, hey, man, I love your beer. I loved when you did that XYZ sour or whatever it is. And when Wren House replies or one of these breweries replies, people get a little geeked out,
Yeah, heck yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and I think, too, it's people have their favorites. And, you and I are in a unique spot because we know everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like we know all the spots, but even the biggest, craft beer fans are sometimes like, oh, I didn't know about this place or I didn't know about this.
Yeah.
And then you see one of your favorite breweries in the bracket get taken down by a Desert Monks or an Old Ellsworth, and they're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I got to go check out Old Ellsworth now.
Okay, who are these people? Are they really better than, this place or
For
whatever?
sure.
And that's it does create a lot of exposure. And we're here at Wicked Rain today, and it's funny, the first time I came in, they're approaching their 1-year anniversary. Is April, their beer tender. She had recognized me from Instagram and started talking to me about the Brewers Bracket, and what she said she loved most about it is just that she was able to identify some breweries in the bracket that she had never been to. She was like, oh, I've never been to Smelter Town before.
Yeah.
But I started looking at their social media, it looked like a cool place, and then ultimately they plan to visit out there and, find out, that part of Arizona is beautiful. And that brewery specifically.
Smelter Town?
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah.
I'm like already looking at my summer calendar. Like I need to rent a room in that hotel upstairs.
Yeah. Park Hotel.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah. Family owned. They built that themselves by Craig, the husband. It was funny. We went up to do the podcast, and he was showing us like, okay, well, here's where they didn't have the bricks exposed, so we had to take all of this out all the way up to here. And he points like 20 feet in the air with this tape measure. And both Luke and I were like, dude, that's a legit construction guy. Like he had a tape measure that was strong enough that he would get put, and he was pointing everywhere. And it's even a joke at the brewery. I think last year for Halloween they all dressed up as Craig, and they all had these long tape measures and shit
just on their belt loop.
Yeah,
I love that.
But yeah, you got to get up to Smelter Town. But that's a good point. It shows people, we might know a lot about, obviously the beer tenders here know their shit, and that's what I really love about this place too.
Yeah.
But you can't know everything, right? And you just kind of get this conglomerate of all this stuff together. So
Right.
yeah.
And there'll be people, when the voting comes out, they'll message me, hey, I know this brewery, but I don't know the other one. How should I vote? Well, it's like, you don't take a look around. Take a look around on social media. It's a powerful platform, and you can kind of do your own research, or maybe just go plan a visit and make up your mind for yourself, or
exactly.
or just pick who's got a cuter mascot, just like Rose from accounting.
Exactly. Rose is always kicking ass in those tournaments. All right, so how does this work? Like, how do you now in the fourth year? I think it's really cool, and you're going to talk about it here. And we're going to get some of the people on the committee on the podcast here in a few minutes. But this year's a little bit different because you brought on a committee. So, like A to Z, all the nuts and bolts of this thing. How does this operate?
Okay, so you mentioned we'll start with a committee. I had to bring in a committee. We've got 15 people, and they're amazing people. But the reason I did it is you mentioned, as I'm into year 4 of this bracket, I'm into year 5 of doing independent social media and marketing for other businesses. It just felt like I had too many lines in the water. Okay. I've done a beer collab with The Shop. I've done a beer collab with State 48, Beer Research, and just have amazing relationships. Old Ellsworth is, our happy hour spot for, my day job. And there's just too many things going on where I didn't want to be the one ranking them or seeding them for a bracket. So I said, this is such a community event, and we have such a strong digital community of beer lovers. So why not just reach out to people and kind of put out a help wanted ad? And I've settled on 15 people. And once we've gotten together, we did a meet and greet down here. They started ranking them, and we're well into the process. But the people that are helping put this thing together, it's more than I could have ever asked for. They're super knowledgeable. Everybody's kind of got, and regionally too, we've got some people that live up north, East Valley, Southeast Valley, West Valley, and then they all come from different walks of life. Some of them have worked in the industry. Some of them are still currently working in the industry. Some are just, big consumers.
Huge fans of
The thing I love the most too, when it finally hit me that the committee is such a perfect fit, is their dedication to the process. As we're going through and we're ranking our 48 breweries, I told you this earlier, that a couple of them would be like, oh, well, I'm a North Sider. I've never been out to Old Ellsworth, or I haven't been to Wicked Brews in Ahwatukee.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, I'm going to Wicked on Tuesday, and then I'm going to Old Ellsworth on Thursday. And, if I'm in that area, I might as well go to this one and that one and check these people, and they printed off their ranking sheets, and they're making notes and sending pictures to the group chat. And I'm just like, I couldn't have asked for anything better. That they're so thorough, they're committed to the process, and it's been more than I could have asked for sure.
Yeah. Well, and also we were talking before about how, you get some shit sometimes because, people vote and there's a huge engagement with it. So people are the one that vote, but you're the face of it, right? It's your account. It's going through, Wizard of Za. So you're probably dealing with some undue heat.
Here and there, there's, and truly as a competitor in the outside world in a previous life, and being through athletics, I can understand, feeling slighted or having a chip on your shoulder. But some of the breweries even upset that they ended up as a 2 seed and not a 1 seed, thinking that was undue, or, comparing themselves to a seed that another brewery got, just things like that. Or, not even necessarily we're talking brewery owners. It could be fans of the brewery, or someone who works for them as a tender or in any capacity. But now, the committee, all of them, I let them know. I said, you're not just selecting, but you're also kind of, you're carrying the load here of, I'm going to deflect any negative attention towards you guys.
Yeah. You guys are in the line of fire at this point.
Yes.
Know that.
So you guys can take the heat off of me. So anything that lands on my doorstep that I don't like, I'm gonna send it down. And some of them are like, bring it on, send it to me. Let me know. I got you.
I already know a couple in the group that I can see that from them.
For sure.
So how did it go in as far as because you chose 64 This one is
48.
Oh, there's 48. Okay.
48
Okay.
breweries. Yeah.
Okay.
State 48.
Because I knew you said you started with 48, but I thought that, but yeah, still at 48.
So we stuck with 48. There was some talk about expansion or like a play-in, and we just decided, 48 has worked so well, and it makes it really, it's desirable to be the 48th team in there. It's like, I know. The younger generations now, the participation trophies are kind of a big thing.
Sure.
And everybody gets in, and everybody gets an orange slice, and it was like, it's like, no, I want to keep it right at 48, and if you can't be top 48, then it's just like, hopefully, you would do what we'd want our kids to do, or anything that we do in life, where we don't get into something, or we're not quite there to make the field. Then it's like, get back to work, and maybe create a stronger connection with the community, or outreach, or, whatever you need to do.
Sure.
Yeah. Just
if you care about it.
Yeah.
Right?
If you care, right.
Some people are like, whatever.
Right. Look within and figure out what you can do to
get to be one of the 48.
To get to wherever you want to go. Because ultimately, when we were selecting the 48, we'll get into it with a couple of the committee members later, but it's not just the beer. We were looking at all components of what make a brewery great, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, beer, its availability, the brewery's
branding.
Service to their community.
Oh, sure.
Food, vibe, location, everything, their customer service. And everybody's got a different, idea of what that looked like.
Right. Because sometimes it can't be quantified, right? There's just something about a place, like, right? All right, this place might have this going, and they might have all this, but for some reason, this one over here just has something about it, So, there's so many ways to choose that.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was cool about the process, too, is I told you these committee guys, they were going out and they're, doing their homework at certain places. And I'm secretly rooting for certain places that they were going to, because I know the connection.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, if you go to this brewery, like, be on the lookout. This is what their owner looks like. Introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And then they'll come back to the group chat the next day. They're like, yeah, we were at this brewery and I met this owner, and oh man, he's so awesome, and I didn't know this story about that brewery. And it's like, there you go.
Yeah.
Now I didn't want to hand feed it to them, but now they saw, that they had the same experience or felt the same connection.
For sure.
Yeah, and that's
understand that depth a little bit more.
Yeah. So selecting the 48, it's just a little bit more than. Don't get it confused, people. It's not just the beer. The beer is certainly a larger slice of the pie if we're looking at it as a pie.
Yep.
But we try to incorporate all elements into how we wanted to select what we thought were the best 48 for the tournament.
Yeah. And you got four. So you have the 48 now.
48.
It's chosen. And I saw you guys did what was the draft?
Oh yeah, the draft was pretty sweet. That was the newest thing we did this year, and I love it with having a committee. So once they selected their 48, what we did is I broke them up. Since in a bracket of 48, there's 4 quadrants, right? So 4 sections.
Regions,
of the
basically.
Regions,
but not by region.
Yeah, but not by region, right? Yeah. So I split them up into 4 groups, created a draft order, and we took the field of 48, and each team got to go one by one and pick the best of what they thought as a collaborative effort with their group of who their 48 were, or who they wanted to select. And it was a cool process, because now each of these groups has their own little connection to their 12 breweries that they drafted, right? Now what we're going through is the placement. We're going turn by turn, and they're taking, their number 1 brewery and figuring out which side they want to be on. And I jokingly told them, I'm like, when you're placing your 1 seed, it's like you just want to be on the opposite side of the bracket from the shop. That's it.
Sure.
Because the shop is a force in this thing.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, this, 3 years running, this is our 4th year. Each year the shop has been in the finals, and they've won it twice.
Yeah.
So you got to, I was like, you guys probably want to stay on the other side. That would be my strategy.
Yeah.
Is where's the shop? Okay, I want to be on the other side.
For sure. Yeah.
So if I have to face them, it'll be in the championship rather than, in a semi or a quarterfinal.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going through now. And we're a little bit more than halfway through the placement, although we won't release the full bracket until March 11th, which will be the Saturday before voting starts. But once we get these committee guys on, we're going to kind of leak a little bit of information about about some of the matchups and where
Okay.
some of the breweries are, because we've got some cool stuff has turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Nice. Well, I can't wait to hear it. I'm not going to be here. You're going to be doing the interviews, so I'm going to be over there trying to eavesdrop a little bit, and then I'll just go home and put the file in the computer and listen to it all, and then leak it all.
Yeah.
So what? So once that's chosen, then you said March 11th. That's when like the bracket will be finalized.
That's when the bracket will be finalized. That's a Saturday. And then voting starts on Tuesday, that's 12, 13, the 14th.
Yeah.
The 14th. And what happens, how you want to vote, or not how you want to, the only way you can vote is you go to the Wizard of Za Instagram, and you go to my story, and you'll be able to flip through the story, and there'll be voting polls on there. So you'll see a picture of Wicked Rain or any other brewery, and they'll have a selection for you to make.
Yeah, just tap a button.
Tap a button.
Yeah.
This brewery or that brewery, and you get to go through. And as soon as you click it, it'll show you the current percentages.
Okay.
For who's in the lead and who's behind.
Yeah.
And the voting window, it stays open for 24 hours, and at the end of 24 hours, they go final. Give me a few hours, and I'll post the results, and you'll get to see the updated bracket.
Okay.
And then we go Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and it goes for 2 full weeks. And then by that second Saturday,
That's the final.
It's the final countdown.
Yeah.
And it actually coincides with the 1-year anniversary of the Wicked Rain Taproom in Gilbert, who is also the
nice.
title sponsor
Hell yeah. Yeah.
of the thing. So it worked out perfectly. We're going to wrap up the championship round. They're going to have some fun things going on here with food truck, live music, beer.
Yeah. So you'll be here as the votes are coming in, and will you announce it from here?
Yeah.
Like the winner, and yeah, nice.
It'll be a cool thing. And, we talked about the engagement and the exposure that this thing has got. And I'd say one of the coolest matchups we had last year was in that semifinal matchup. And we had the Shop versus Wren House. And the final vote tally was 1,109 for the Shop and 1,100 for Wren House. So it was 9 votes decided.
that close.
That close. And we're talking 2,200 votes, too.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's what, when we're talking about like the level of engagement and the engagement rate of this thing, it's crazy, which, each year as it's gone on, it's like there's more and more pressure of like, how do you continue to make this thing bigger and better and continue to rise up? But I'm hoping for, if we can have the championship round on Wicked Rain's 1-year anniversary and have something that is that close and that suspenseful, as we're all in here enjoying beers and celebrating the 1 year of Wicked Rain, that would be a dream come true.
Yeah, that's badass, man.
Yeah.
Should go on the screen and
I know.
What's that called? AirPlay or
I'm working on like with some media specialists to try to figure out, wouldn't it be cool if eventually maybe one of these listeners can help me with it, is like an ESPN. You know how they have like the scores updating on the bottom?
Yeah.
It'd be awesome to be able to get something like that on the bottom of some of these breweries' tap lists.
Sure.
Or something. So like as you come in, you can see
like the voting.
See it flipping through, right?
Yeah.
So you're watching your March Madness games, because we tip off our bracket, the Brewers bracket, at the same time the college tournament starts off. So you're watching college basketball. You're looking at the tap list. You can see, it's 54-46 in the, in the Wren House Shop matchup.
And you could go. That would give people an opportunity, like, oh shit, I need to go vote, right? Or like, what is that? Oh, it's this and that. Like, well, dude, I think Wren House is better than the Shop. I need to go in and vote. My vote needs to get in there and count.
Yeah, and in case you forget too, there's going to be QR code flyers just in front of about every urinal inside the state of Arizona this year too. So
nice, dude. Good idea.
Yeah, we've got some marketing strategies for this year as well. So
nice, man, dude. Nice work with this, dude. I mean, I'm a big fan of what you do and what you do for this community, and you do bring people into places. That's the great thing is you got this. You have this great content, but it's converting into something that is beneficial for the places that you're covering.
Yeah.
Right. You're not finding success at the expense of them. Right. You're finding success to be able to help them. To benefit them. So something like this, I think, is just it's fun. It's unique. So I'm excited for it, man.
Yeah. And it's a super cool thing, and you get what you put into it. And a lot of the breweries who we had like 95% reshare rate last year with breweries putting it back out. And the ones who do really well, they're the ones who are reaching out to other people and resharing, letting their, if they have an email chain for their company, hey, here's what's going on. We've got a big matchup this week against the brewery across town, and help us get over the top. And I couldn't have asked for more, and I'm really excited for this year. And
hell yeah,
I can't wait to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah. Well, anything else you want to share with me? You ready to get some of these committee members on?
I think we're good, and I think everybody is ready and familiarized with the process now that, we should.
Let's do it. I need another beer anyway.
I agree. I love it. Thanks, dude. All right, so we're here at Wicked Rain in Gilbert. I'm here with 2/15 of my selection committee for the Arizona Brewers Bracket. Charlie, Trey, both members of Cactus Wren. We'll get into that in just a minute. Why don't you guys go ahead, introduce yourselves, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm Charlie, loving beer, a little bit of influencing on Instagram, have an amazing time with the beer brackets. It's it's helped me be a little more opinionated. Like, I go into places and I'm optimistic, so I go into places and I enjoy it. But especially the group chat that we have with the Cactus Wren, it's helped be a little more opinionated and dive into the crowd.
I love that.
Yeah, it gets fun. I'm Trey, big beer guy, as you can see, big Suns guy, as you can also see. Don't really do a whole lot of social media. I'm not as interesting as Charlie, but it's a good time. Having a lot of fun. It's definitely a process that I've never really been through before with anything. I've definitely never been on a podcast, so it's been a lot of fun.
First time.
Oh yeah,
First time. I love
podcast
it. Well,
virgin.
I like being a part of that. And Eric and I, we already sort of broke down a little bit of the process that we've gone through with the Brewers Bracket and selecting the 48. But I want to hear from you guys. You guys were a big instrumental part in selecting the 48 breweries. Tell us a little bit about how we decided which 48 were in, which 48 were out, which 48 were in, and a little bit of the criteria.
Well, I can tell you this. You know how competitive fantasy football can get, right?
For sure.
Well, when you get 15 of the biggest beer heads around in a fantasy football tournament with breweries, it's a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah, I felt the tension for sure.
It is. I'm a competitive person, and if you want to take my brewery, well, then who's going to beat that?
Yeah.
All right, we got it. Mm-hmm. It's good, though. It's opened me up. Like I said, it's opened me up to being a little more opinionated and not so much critical, but the appreciation.
Sure.
And it helps realize the appreciation of every aspect of a brewery, not just the beer.
Yeah.
I mean, the beer plays a big part in it, but...
What components would you say that you were focusing on? Obviously, the beer, right?
Oh, yeah.
When we're selecting, which breweries we want to be in, obviously the beer comes to mind. What were some of the other things we were considering?
So a big thing for me, at least, was, the variety. There's a lot of places that do a lot of IPAs and a lot of sours. I like breweries that mix it up a little bit, that take risks. So that was pretty important to me. And, I've been to every single brewery at this point in the Valley that I know of, unless there's some hiding. And if you're hiding, I'm going to find you. But getting to know some of the people, and how they started, what their brewery's about, what their beer's about, what it means for the community. That was also a big component. Because, I initially went into it, it's like, hey, do you have good beer? I'm a pretty simple guy. So it's just like, if you got good beer, I'm probably going to like you. But there's a lot more that goes into it. And going off of what Charlie said, there's a lot of opinions. In our Cactus Wren chat, we all have kind of different perspectives that kind of balance each other out. And it's interesting hearing, what people value and stuff. And it definitely is, improved my knowledge and, my scope of it.
I like that. We're always growing. We're always learning. Well, you had mentioned, there's breweries that you weren't familiar with, or you've visited quite a few of them, and some that, if you're not familiar with, you'll go hunt down. And that was one of the things I'd mentioned to Eric when we were talking earlier, as I said, the committee that got together, the 15 of you guys, I couldn't have asked for anything more, because as we're figuring out which 48 we'd like to be in the tournament, I said if there was a place that a handful of people hadn't been to, you guys were making note of it, scheduling plans, scheduling trips there. And you did. And what I'd like to know is, out of this process, one of the newer breweries that you visited and that were selected into the top 48 for the tournament, what was one experience that you had?
I would say Wicked. Going
Wicked
out there,
and Nawatuki.
going out there meeting Chip, Chef G.
Mm-hmm.
He comes from the industry. He was able to fulfill his dream.
And for people who don't, you're an industry guy too.
I am, yes. I'm a chef. So when you ask, one of my main things in a brewery is food.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say main thing. Now it's an equal thing. I mean, it's all. But you go in there and Chip and his wife, they're amazing people with an amazing dream. They're making it happen for good reason because they've paid their dues, and they have an amazing staff that they've brought along the way, and now they're doing amazing things. And
And what on Sundays, Trey's not going to love hearing this, but on Sundays it turns into a sea of red. They're also a Chiefs ball. But yeah, that was my experience.
Neither are my nephews back home. I'm sorry, guys. They do a good job.
But yeah, that was my experience too. I'd met those guys, and I thought they had a real cool vibe going. They're kind of a little bit of everything. They've got the cigar lounge. They've got high-end whiskey. They have an amazing kitchen with pizza. Go check it out. I did a pizza review on them. But then also just great people.
And they're not biting off more than they can chew. They're
Yeah.
taking it step by step. They're doing it the right way, and
With an all-star
they're getting
staff.
it done for sure. That's
With an all-star staff,
foundation
too.
right there.
And Trey, what would you say was one of your better experiences visiting something new?
I would probably echo off of Charlie and say Wicked. I'd been to a lot of breweries at that point, but Wicked was kind of one that I'd never really heard of. I mean, I had heard of it, but I had never just been out that way. So, yeah, it was awesome. I got to talk to Chip. And, man, something, about that place is that place was packed when I went in.
It's got a vibe.
And they made it a point, man. They, the service was great. The food was really good. Asking me how the beer was. They do a really good job, and they really care about what they're doing. And that's awesome to see. And that was another, going back to what I was talking about, my selection criteria, that was another, big part of it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, just seeing, a family-owned business take off like that. That's really cool.
With that being said, I mean, maybe not in the brackets. You went to a place this weekend, right? That I had not the best of experience at. And he went, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I went to Lochiel. And, I know that they're not part of the bracket this year, but I was really impressed. Granted, I love that style of beer, like traditional English-Scottish beers. I'm like 70% Scottish or something like that. I just found that out. But, I was really, really impressed. And, as Charlie said, experience is relative. There's some breweries that I've, not too many, but there's some that I've been to here where it's like, hey, this isn't that great. I'm not going to name names because that's rude, but, there's other, people, even in Cactus Wren that are, like, hey, this is one of my favorites. What's wrong with you? And that's okay. That's dialogue, that's discourse, and that's what this committee's about.
Yeah, and that's what I appreciate about you guys the most is when I didn't know what to expect. This is the, first year, this is the birth of the committee because I wanted to gain some distance between myself and who's getting in and who's getting out because just as one person – and I'm gaining, so many relationships within the industry. And then getting all of you guys together is I realize, there's varying opinions from everybody, but you guys have all handled it really, really well. You guys are respectful of other people's opinions. One of the guys had a difference in opinion on a place that you went to, and he went in, checked it out, had a good experience. And that was that you guys are being as thorough as you are. Is really appreciative that you guys are really crossing the T's, dotting the I's. But what I want to dig into now, as we do have our field of 48, we did go through, I explained earlier with Eric that we split the committee into 4 groups and we did a fantasy draft. And each of you drafted 12 breweries. So what I'd like to know now is who's we're not going to get into predictions yet, like who you think can win the whole thing.
Oh, we're ready.
But what I think,
We're ready.
what I think would be important is,
bro.
tell me a little bit about a team or a brewery under the radar that you think could make a little bit of noise. A sleeper pick, we would say.
Let me tell you, I think all of our teams are
he's
sleeper
calling
picks.
his
All of
his
our
squad
teams
is
are sleeper
loaded.
picks. I mean, go from, I don't want to say Goldwater sleeping. They're not sleeping.
No.
When I say they have been sleeping, it's not bash on them because they're one of my favorite breweries here in town. But
You're wearing a Goldwater shirt.
They have kind of been under the radar as far as popularity. Let me tell you, they have 4 collabs yet this year. 3 that came out with Beer Week, with 3 of the Ren, the Shop. Who else? They have 4 collabs yet. This is going to be a year for collabs. I think another sleeper is going to be Oro. I'm sorry, not Oso. Oro.
I love Oro.
Oro. They just got Best Brewery at the Craft Beer Fest. Best Brewery of 22, and that's People's Choice. So that's you guys. That's what we're doing here. Is People's Choice. That's where we're at.
That would be my recommendation. Is between now and the time that voting starts on March 14th would be Oro's always been one of my sleeper picks or one of my favorites. Downtown Mesa, they make this Cafe Oro, which I think is my favorite Arizona beer of all time. And to see them get the recognition at the, I don't remember the name of the Craft Beer Awards Festival. It
was the Arizona Craft Beer Award.
Yep.
I loved seeing them get that recognition. And shameless plug, we're at Wicked Rain. They've got 40 Arizona beers on tap, 23 different breweries. I'm drinking an Oro inside the park.
Yes, that was spring training beer like 4 or 5 years ago.
Friends of the friends, Oro is hard to find outside of their brewery, but you can find it here at Wicked Rain. But yeah, Oro is one of my.
I hate the word sleeper, especially in what we're doing right now, because they're not sleepers. They're not one of the huge names that have been on the popularity list for Arizona, but
they can make some noise.
They Cinderella is what I like to call it.
I like
she's
that.
Going to be dancing.
I love it. I love it. Make this Sweet 16 prediction for Oro.
Oh, Sweet 16 for sure.
Oh, love
Definitely,
it.
yes,
Love it.
yes.
All right, Trey, what do you think?
I'm going to go with another one of the Cactus Ren breweries, Lake Pleasant. They really have not been around, that long.
They just finished their 1 year, right?
Yeah, they really have not been around that long. And, a lot of breweries, when they start out, the beer's not always great. They're still trying to figure it out and stuff. I went into Lake Pleasant, and I, live in the South Valley, so it's a haul for me to get up there.
For sure.
And also probably just tells everybody how much free time I have. But, but yeah, no, I went up there, and I was blown away just by their selection, by their setup, and how quickly they're gaining popularity. I mean, you look at their followers on social media, there's people that I run into that talk about their beer. I definitely think that they're a sleeper. And I think that, a couple of people in the committee were surprised.
I think.
But
guys, so a lot of people would say if they looked at the draft results, oh, you took Lake Pleasant a little earlier. Maybe for us fantasy football guys, oh, that was a reach. But what I can tell you is I'd never been to Lake Pleasant before. I still haven't. I will get up there. I promise you. It's been a crazy last few weeks for me. But unanimously in the group of 15, I told you a lot of people hadn't been there when we first started the selection. A majority of you have. And the outcry for Lake Pleasant being an amazing brewery, it's just like echoing through the halls of the group chat.
And for the record, it's not at Lake Pleasant. That's what took me so long to get out there. It's in Peoria, so it's not at Lake Pleasant.
It's in that Simple Machine and front porch kind of corridor.
Triangle,
So it's a nice little
front
triangle.
porch is also there for those that haven't been. So they've got a lot going on. Kitsune's pretty close too. That was another pretty high pick.
Yeah.
So
I think, what you guys did, getting, a lot of people can say, if you've been in the fantasy world, you drafted a lot of the guys that you really, really like.
Borderland. Borderland is a sleeper.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Borderland is a Goldwater that is the redheaded stepchild down in Tucson. I mean, they're doing great things.
And people don't talk about Tucson beer a lot. This is the Arizona Brewers Bracket. This isn't, we're talking about Flagstaff. We're talking about Tucson. There's other cities. Bisbee has a brewery that's really, really good that I think a lot of people don't know about. It's not just Phoenix. And I think a lot of people, hopefully they don't forget that. But, I know there's some, fans of the Tucson beer scene that are in your comments.
And there are a lot of people who, just Tucson foodie, a lot of people will see, my top 10 pizza list this year didn't include anybody from Tucson, and everybody's like, oh, Tucson's left off the list again. And it just seems like that's sort of their thing. But I've spent a few trips down in Tucson in the last few months, and I can tell you their beer scene, phenomenal. Pueblo Vita on tap here at Wicked Rain.
Moto Sonora's coming up.
They
If
are,
anybody
yeah.
hasn't been there, it's phenomenal.
Moto Sonora.
Yeah,
that,
Moto
that-
Sonora's a great
yeah,
one.
the
Yeah,
farm-
Crooked
Some
Tooth
great
is
barrel
good.
aged
Yeah,
stuff.
Crooked Tooth's female owned too, so that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, that's something that's pretty cool. I
That
think.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to echo off of Charlie as far as what he was talking with Borderlands, my first trip down there, beginning of January, I was stunned by the venue. Like we were talking about how we selected our top 48 as far as vibe of a brewery or like flexible seating, as I call it. You know, my teacher brain goes to flexible seating. It's like you can go and you can play video games in a corner. You can sit down and watch live music. You can go in the back and shoot billiards.
Got a huge patio.
Yeah, you can go out on the huge patio where they've got a little taco truck, and on that day, it was rainy. The train's coming by every 10 minutes. You know, they're playing Johnny Cash, the live band is, and I was like, this is just a vibe.
The good kind of country
and a
music.
half, man.
The brick and mortar,
Dude,
yeah.
and mortar, literally.
And
It's pretty cool. The whole like Southwest kind of
Yeah.
aesthetic that they have. And if you
And
guys
now they
haven't
have-
had those tacos, oh my god!
Well, now they have a James Beard nominated
Yeah.
chef out there.
Yeah.
from
I always get the
Chopped
flight, the
and-
taco flight every
Yeah.
time. You know, you're a food guy, you're a chef, so you should definitely be able to appreciate how
Yes.
good those are, especially if I do. You know,
And it's all regional, relevant
Yeah.
to the area, which is
Yeah.
another huge component in
Yeah.
what a brewery should be about. It's relevant to the area.
I can't say enough good things about Bordeaux. I mean, they had like it was a churro cream ale or something.
Yeah.
Like- So you'd mentioned like exploration of beer or like a chance to like try or do new things. It was like that was on the map. Everything was there. So I love Borderlands.
and they were a unanimous pick too. So I think that just goes to show, they're absolutely what you were saying, Charlie. They're definitely a sleeper. Every single member of the committee like put Borderlands in their top 48. Every single one.
So why weren't they picked?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's wrap up with this. Your, I guess we could say final four, like who you can say, give me like a bold prediction, champion type thing. For me, it's no secret. I'm wearing a Goldwater hat today, and I've got my Dark Sky Beer shirt on. I think we could see those two making massive moves this year. I think, in years past, the shop has been in the finals all 3 years.
For good reason.
Yep.
For great reasons. And
Quality.
they do a good job of outreach, getting people out there and getting people to the voting polls.
But they've also raised the bar for everybody else.
They have
have.
raised
And
the
that's
bar
what's
and the
happening right now.
awareness.
And it just keeps getting better. Every time I've been at the shop, it's better. And that's crazy to me because I've
Yeah.
been there quite a bit.
It is. But if you notice, everywhere is getting like that. Like they
Yeah.
raised it. Everybody is coming to the plate. I mean, the sleepers are awakening.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's why I think we're going to see a sleeper, kind of a smaller brewery in the Final Four.
I love
I
that.
definitely think that we're going to see, Goldwater. Dark Sky's got a huge following,
They do.
not just
They
in
do.
Flagstaff, but everywhere.
it's up to you guys. It's
Yeah.
up to the people.
That
I mean, that's-
atmosphere patio now,
Yeah.
the beer garden, that's an incredible thing. And
Oh, yeah.
I saw they just signed on with a distributor too, so I know they've got a production facility now, and their availability of beer, just getting in front of people now is going to be because us beer nerds, we've known for a long time Dark Sky makes phenomenal stuff, but you had to go there to get it.
Yep.
And now that you can find it in Valley bottle shops and it's a little bit more available,
Trustworthy sources.
Yeah,
the world's
Sleepy Whale and Chandler,
finding
they do a
out.
good job. They're really big Dark Sky fans. So if you want a Dark Sky beer, hit up that place. Shameless plug, 'cause I'm a regular, but
Yep, there you go, Sleepy. Anyways, so here we go. Who are we crowning champ? September, March 11th when we're down here. No, I'm sorry, March 24th when we're down here for the 1-year anniversary of Wicked Rain and the championships. Who are we crowning champion?
Well deserved. It's going to be Goldwater.
Goldwater,
Goldwater
I love
is. They've been taking notes. They've been doing it for so long. This is their year. It's up to the people, so make it happen.
You heard it here first.
It's the year of the collabs. Listen, it's the year
I
of the
love it.
collabs. It's everybody's getting together. It's a community. So
Friends
I
of the
think-
industry, man. It's got to be no surprise, right, that everybody wants to go, are willing to, and showing up. That whether it was, I don't know if it was Goldwater reaching out and saying, hey, do you want to make a beer with us? Or people are just saying, but Goldwater by far killing the collabs for Arizona Beer Week.
we would hope it's like that. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so you can tell that they are loved in the community.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing. Going way back to what we were talking about earlier, the fact that Goldwater, they reach out to other breweries and they're like, hey, we're a community.
Yeah.
Hey, we're in this together. We're trying to bring great beer to the the people of the Phoenix area. That's also something that's really important, and that's why Charlie and I are in Cactus Ren. It was why they were our first pick. It was a big part of it.
So you're going Goldwater too?
I am, yeah. I'm
I
Goldwater,
love that.
yeah.
Yes, he knows.
That's
I
who I
love
think
that.
is
He's the
going to take
driving
it.
force
I
of
love
the
that.
Cactus
Yeah.
Ren.
I tell you what, if we crown Gold, there would be no better fit for the 4th year's champion of the Arizona Brewers Bracket, then Arizona Goldwater. Phenomenal brewery, great spot. If you haven't been to their Longbow location, one of my favorite little spots to
It's nice.
It was
to
awesome.
stop
Yeah,
into.
I just went there last weekend, and I was blown away.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about places, you know, like Borderlands was super cool, you know, but that location, that Goldwater location, that gave
Nothing
it a
like
run
it
for
in
its
its
money.
area. They've
Oh,
got it.
man, it's so cool. It's so well done. Yeah. They're building a new location in Tempe, right?
Goldwater, yes,
Yeah.
on Priest and Ray, I believe.
Nice.
It would be northeast corner.
Nice. That's awesome.
Should be coming down soon. But I appreciate you guys so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate you guys so much for helping out with the committee.
Yeah.
I already explained to Eric, and I want to just vocalize it to you guys. You guys are, 2/15 of the committee, but the input, how thorough you guys were, your dedication to selection, making sure we're doing it correctly, I can't appreciate that enough.
Well, we appreciate you,
Yeah,
man.
so do
Thanks
we,
for having
so do
us.
we.
Yeah, cheers,
Cheers to
guys.
that, guys.
Cheers to that.
Awesome.
And on a closing, one thing I want to mention is that Arizona is pretty young in our brewery history.
Sure.
I mean, compared to other states, I mean, we're pretty young in all of our history, but
Yeah.
we are all a part of history as it's growing in the beer industry right
Yeah.
now, and we all need to take advantage of that.
It's on the up and up.
And
Vote.
This is,
Yeah.
and this
Who
is
you
all
like.
one
It's
It's an
small,
exciting time
Make
to
it
live
happen.
in State 48.
small piece of it. Hopefully next year we can broadcast live that fantasy draft, and it'll be
Oh, man, that'll be cool.
something we can do. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't express to you guys how fun that was.
Yeah.
So if we do that live, they
As
get
a-
to see
yeah,
the
as a
shenanigans.
fantasy nerd,
That was a lot of
So
fun.
beer is
It was
my
tough
favorite
being on the
sport.
outside. It was tough being on the outside just watching.
That was so much fun.
Yeah.
Beer is
I
my
think
favorite
everybody
sport.
can attest
That's
to
what I
that.
found out.
I love it. Well, thank you guys so much. Let's go drink some more beer.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve. Charlie.
Of course. All right. Welcome in, guys. I'm here with 3/15 now. I don't know what that breaks down in fractions, but of the Brewers Bracket Committee. And we're here at Wicked Rain. They've got 40 beers, 40 Arizona beers on tap representing 23 Arizona breweries, which is pretty awesome. President's Day. And why don't we go ahead and we'll go around the table. Let's introduce ourselves. We're with returning guest, Cody. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Cody. You got a handle or anything you want to share? Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, my name is Cody. I'm originally from the San Francisco Bay Area. Been out in Arizona for about 5 years. Claim to fame is I've been to around 182 breweries. 88 of those are specifically in the state of Arizona, and I've officially been to all the breweries.
But who's counting, right? I love it. That's awesome.
I'm a checklist kind of guy.
Yes, I love it.
My Instagram handle is Keeping It Craft. As you know, I like to keep it craft.
Yeah,
Keep it local, keep it good.
I love that.
That's me.
Awesome.
And then my name is Rudy. Technically Dylan, but most people call me Rudy. So, my claim to fame is, like Cody's been to 180. I've been to about like 120 and about 80% of Arizona's breweries. If you guys like Pub Pass, I am one of the Phoenix Pub Pass city curators. So go to getpubpass.com to, sign up for that today. Sign up for the app, get a book, do whatever you got to do. Follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Real Coach Rudy, and I'll get you one of the discount codes that can get you in there.
Sweet.
Very cool. Mike, craft beer guy on Instagram. I'm a little older than these guys, so I'm not good at keeping track of the breweries, but my wife is. She's Beer Bitch AZ.
Yeah,
and
nice.
we're closing in on 500 breweries right now. So,
nice.
so
I'm
we're,
telling you,
so we're getting there.
For those of you who don't follow Craft Beer Guy, you need to, because he is such a source of inspiration for, not calling you old, but saying that you're retired.
Okay.
But your retired life is what I want.
All right.
It's a picture. It's a light at the end of the tunnel for me. Both you and I have backgrounds in education.
Yep.
And just waiting for that time where I can live that life.
All right.
It looks beautiful, dude.
You'll get there.
Yes.
I spent 26 years at Mingus High School in Cottonwood, so yeah, and then retired a few
Awesome.
years ago. So
Yeah.
you'll get there.
Shout out Mingus.
Yep. Marauders.
Awesome. So we are here because we're kicking off the Arizona Brewers Bracket's 4th year. I'd already talked to Eric, include him in a little bit about what the committee went through as far as the selection of 48 breweries, as far as the components that we all considered. We talked about, the beer plays a big slice of the pie in what we were selecting as far as which 48 breweries we're going to get in. But I'd like to hear from you guys other than the beer, what were some of the things that you were weighing in heavy consideration when we were selecting the 48?
Yeah, one of the biggest things for me was accessibility. If you have a big Instagram following, big marketing platform, big brand, that's going to have a huge factor into people weighing in on what they like. Because if they don't have access, they're not going to be able to vote in. But location, just what else they can get to. But the physical brewery itself, again, beer took a big impact on the rating, about 60%, at least for me.
Yeah.
But I also wanted region, diversity, really representing what Arizona has to offer.
For sure, and which is a lot. I mean, if you look at a lot of different breweries from across the state, it goes without saying, the beer plays a big role in what 48 breweries are going to get in. But I agree, accessibility, which is also shameless plug for Wicked Rain. We've got 40 beers on tap here, and it's Pueblo Vita, Lake Pleasant. They've got a little bit of something from all around the state in varying styles, which is super important for people to make important decisions of, when it comes to the bracket. Rudy, what did you think?
I mean, kind of along the same lines as Cody, it's just a huge part of it for me was, probably more than 60%. I think I took a lot of beer influence into it and said, just simple question, do you make good beer? Does this brewery make good beer? Did I remember this beer? I've been to enough breweries in the state, and if I haven't been to the physical brewery itself, I've been to enough tap rooms where they've been on tap, or they've had them in cans to make that informed decision and say, hey, is this place cranking out good beer or not? And that was kind of, and I'm not going to lie, probably out of the 48 that we chose, I probably had about 40 kind of unanimous ones where I was okay, these are easy push in. They're cranking out great product. They're a great representative of the craft beer community. They're doing their thing out here. When it started to come into my tiebreakers and filling out the final 8 spots for who I thought belonged, kind of similar. I was looking at location. Is the location a cool vibe? I don't really want to take into account so much of I know that, you could think it service or whatnot. If it's consistently bad service, then maybe, but everybody can have a bad day from time to time. I don't want to hold that against people, but what's the vibe look like? What's, the kind of feel look like? What are they doing in the craft beer community outside of just serving good beer as well? And then kind of a final tiebreaker, if I was really split between them, would be hey, what's, kind of their food situation look like? What is kind of that kitchen aspect kind of go for? But that was honestly probably a less than 1% thing for me. I was first and foremost, I was here is if I were to take the top 3 to 5 beers from this brewery A and then go against brewery B for their top 3 to 5, how would they stack up against each other? And that's kind of how I started to kind of separate the list and move on from there.
Yeah, and I don't think I have really anything different than them, but the beer was the biggest slice of the pie, and then what was the atmosphere like? What's the vibe like? If they have food, do they help out in the community? Things like that. So, but it was pretty much what what both these guys said.
I agree. And what we did after we selected the 48, the 48, the first 40 were pretty unanimous. As we were selecting down, the last 8, we were kind of shuffling through maybe about 16 or so. And then what was discussed already is that we split our 15 committee members into 4 groups, and then we decided to do a team draft of all 48 breweries that had been selected. And you guys are all from different teams. Now, we just had Trey and Charlie on. They were from the same squad, the Cactus Wren squad, and, they just spent time patting themselves on the back. But I love having people from different perspectives on here now. So tell me a little bit about what your guys' experience was with your team and how you kind of navigated the process of the draft.
I think the breaking up into smaller teams was actually the best part about it, because during that first, 48 selection, it's actually really hard getting 14 different perspectives.
Yeah.
But we were able to narrow down with the 4 people in my team. Yeah. However, where we were in the bracket as well, or in the snake draft, had a huge impact. We were looking at who could compete with what. If we pick this team, this brewery, will it work well with these other ones and
Yeah.
so on. So as we were working down, who would be a good 12th place, who would be a good 5th place, who would be a good to make ours diverse, but then also make a good run for their money for the other breweries that would also place well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of the same with Team Geronimo. I mean, shout out to Amanda and Holly for dealing with my really picky ass the entire time with it. But, I mean, we did a couple of things went into it. I mean, pre-draft, I did a ton of research in terms of, like, their social media, like, first and foremost, and saying, like,
I'd heard that about you guys.
Yeah, like who's got the most followers, who's been active. I went back to last year, 2 years, seeing who was active during Beer Week, who was doing like the most to really try to make it as just close as possible. We were looking for that big social media presence because at the end of the day, that's what's going to matter.
That's what's going to drive the performance.
That's what's going to drive the performance, exactly. I think we built ours a pretty decent way in terms of getting a lot of big names, and also big names from both big breweries and small breweries in the same aspect. We were able to get the shop with #1 overall pick, 2-time winner, big brewery in Arizona with 4 Peaks, BRI, Mother Road, Husk, kind of a couple of the big heavy hitters that are going for those like home run derby kind of style performances, just so that we can really load up with as much as we can, so that we were comfortable with wherever we really placed them in the draft, or in the bracket, I should say, that we were very just aware of saying, hey, I think regardless of who we put in there from our 12, they have the best chance to win.
Okay.
Nice.
I like very, very analytical, and I can appreciate that from when it comes to fantasy sports. I'm a massive nerd where I'm, searching the catalog, scouring the internet, figuring out what kind of competitive advantage I can. And that's what's important about understanding this Arizona Brewers Bracket, is that it comes down to, it is a little bit of a popularity contest, and it is social media driven. So looking at those factors do play a very big role. And Mike, for you and your team, what were you guys looking at?
Well, Team Saguaro, but I feel kind of bad now because we didn't really look at I don't think we really took a look at some of that stuff. But
well, I mean, you ended up with Wren House as a #1 pick, too, so that's not too bad either.
Yeah, we feel good. I mean, I think we kind of like just threw a bunch of stuff out there, like, okay, here's a brewery we'd like to get. Here's another brewery. I think we came up, maybe we brainstormed like maybe 10 breweries we wanted to try to get.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I think we got like,
pretty much got what you wanted.
8 or 9 of the 10. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we didn't pick, we knew we couldn't get like 4 of the top breweries for sure. We knew we couldn't get that. But but the ones we wanted, like, let's try to get Smelter Town a little bit later. Let's get Roses by the Stairs. And we were able to do it. So we feel pretty good about our list.
The deliberation was really funny with our team, too, because it's similar to that. We had a wish list of about 18 to 20 breweries that were like, these are the ones we want. The other 24 are like great breweries in their own right, but we feel comfortable with these like 20 or so. And like the deliberation, like, oh, like we really want this brewery. Like, can we afford to let them slide another round? Is this something that like, we can get this top tier running back in the 5th round of the of the fantasy football draft? And it was funny, like having the side chat with my team and just saying like, hey, like, like, oh crap, these people are we comfortable with this one? Is it too early? Is it too late? Like, how should we approach this? And just that fantasy aspect with it was great.
Mm-hmm. It was really hard for me watching from the outside in and not being involved with it, but I really appreciate that you guys had the experience you did with it, because when I talked to Team Cactus Wren with Trey and Charlie, I didn't say it on air to them. Maybe I will after I have this pint, but I was like, they reminded me of the team who you have in every fantasy draft where it was like, they might be big Cowboy fans, so they went out and they drafted all their Cowboy fans.
This is Dak's year, I promise.
Yeah, right? So, I mean, no shot at the Cowboys or who they drafted, but it was like they knew who they just wanted favorites, and it didn't matter when they got them, where they got them. But it seems like each of you kind of had your own. There was more to it than where your heart was. There was heart and head a little bit.
Well, what happened for us was we were the 4th out of the 4 different teams. And I was going off of a lot of what, during the first 48, what people were saying and picking. And it actually tremendously shocked us when certain breweries that were maybe not talked about as great as others were then going up a lot higher and based off of following and presence. And it kind of made me upset, because I'm like, you guys advocated for these breweries over these. Yes. And then when push comes to shove,
Yeah, so you thought you had a read on them.
So I thought I had a huge read, and I'm not disappointed in any of my breweries that we've selected, and I love my drafts, but I think definitely threw a curveball.
I have to say, Mike, you brought up Roses by the Stairs, and I said you guys got them as a 7 seed, which is absolutely incredible. I've been in there twice now, and then was just recently in Pueblo Vita, who tipped me off that they're making an IPA with Roses by the Stairs. And to me, I think their trajectory has huge potential. Yeah. Huge potential. I mean, it's a cool name, first of all. Yeah. Like it vibes with a lot of us, in this generation, as far as the Blink-182 reference. The brewery's super clean, super nice. The customer service has always been really enjoyable for me being in there. And then collabing with a place like Pueblo Vita, would you say that it's going to be a big sleeper pick for you? Make big waves, Cinderella style?
Oh, I think so. It could be. I mean, they're fairly new. I think they just opened in May. Yeah, so, that could be the one thing that kind of holds them back. But a year from now, I think they're really going to be going. But you never know. They still could be a sleeper. And, they could. I mean, the song, too. I'm a big hockey guy.
Yes.
And my team is the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah.
And between periods, the second and third period at the Avs games, the whole stadium sings the song.
Yeah,
really.
And, and it's really cool. And, of course, they won the Stanley Cup championship and stuff. So
that's going to be a great vibe.
That's a great brewery.
You're just pushing for them off of that alone. You're like, come on, bring it home, baby, let's go.
Right? I know. And then I'm a Verde Valley guy. I lived in the Verde Valley for 26 years, and so with our 12 breweries, we got 3 from the Verde Valley. So that was pretty surprising.
Nice.
We have Sedona, we have that, and then we have Smeltertown.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as I was mentioning with Roses by the Stairs is, I think that they have Cinderella potential, make it into the Sweet 16. But what we love so much about this bracket, like I've had conversations with some of the beer tenders here or other places that I've gone to, and they talk about the bracket, just how it brings awareness to certain breweries that they might not know about. I'm going to say I'm going to be surprised, but I'm not going to be surprised when so many people see the bracket and they're like, oh, I've never heard of Roses by the Stairs. And then they go out there and then getting great feedback, or as we say, it brings the consumer to the digital doorstep of Roses by the Stairs. Now all of a sudden you're going to have people going out and looking at this brewery on social media, or that they're going to end up making a visit and making an opinion and then following them and expecting feedback from Roses. And then Roses can do what they will with that. And that being said, looking at 2 other guys who have teams, who is that team or that brewery for you guys with your squads?
In terms of like who's going to benefit outside the bracket from this?
Who do you think is going to gain some exposure and maybe underrepresented in the social media that's going to see a big benefit?
I mean, personally, for mine, I think that off of our list, it's not a newer brewery per se, but it is new-ish in terms of with Greenwood. I think Greenwood is doing amazing things in downtown Phoenix. Megan is cranking out some amazing beers out there. That Rosemary IPA might very well be my favorite beer in the entire state. Yeah. I mean, it goes great with you being the pizza guy. Like, I think that you can have
right next to Il Bosco.
Yeah, right next to Il Bosco.
Shout out Jeff.
Any of the pizzas there at Il Bosco are just clutch in my mind. But I think Greenwood can. I mean, I think it's just there. You're surrounded by a lot of big names down there in downtown Phoenix. You've got Wilderness down the street. You've got Pedal House down the street. You got a ton of tap rooms, and it's very easy to get lost. But I think that they're doing great as it is, but it could definitely be a great push to, help them kind of break, to help them kind of break and move on to that next tier. You know what I mean? Like, just I think, and even so, we picked them because we thought they could make a lot of noise in this draft. We thought, given their background and being, all women-owned brewery and having just a story behind every beer. It's not a beer that they brewed because they liked it. It was a beer that's like, hey, here's my influence behind it. Here's why I wanted to make it. And we were like, as a 4 seed, they can go in and upset a 1 seed. And that's personally how we placed them, is we thought, being a 4 seed, they could take out any number of the 1 seeds in there.
That very well said. I feel like that you're right on with that. They're on the cusp of breaking through from good to great as far as the way that the public represents them.
Correct,
Us being beer nerds, we know damn well that Greenwood does great things. The vibe in there is super cool. The location is elite. And their accessibility is getting better. Like you can find them inside Sprouts now, and you can find them at other.
They actually just released a Costco pack the other day. That's got it's a 12 pack.
Yeah.
That's got their Rosemary, Her Story, the Pilsner, and I think Emerald Light, their light IPA.
There you go. See,
they just released
that's
that inside
insider
Costco.
info. That makes it a big nab.
Shout out Megan with the Greenwood Beer Club.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I will say Greenwood was on our list, and that's one of them we
it
didn't get.
got
So,
taken
for
from you, yeah.
the reasons, we go there quite often, my wife and I. They're a great brewery.
Yeah. Love Greenwood. Cody, what do you think?
On our list, I've always been looking at Front Porch.
Yeah.
They're up north. They're a little bit out of the way. They're next to Simple Machine. They're up. They're right up there. I love their story too. I believe it was the family brewing on their front porch, and they started making some great beers. Decided to open up a shop, and if you go in there, you'll have an amazing experience. The first time I went in, I had their Toasty Blonde. It's like 7.4%.
Yeah.
It's killer.
Yes.
And the rest of their beers, too, on top of that, are super underrated. It's like you feel like a part of the family when you walk in.
Yeah, the aesthetics in there too are very nice, and
Their chalk artwork is also A+ in there on all of their beer labels and whatnot.
And Pub Pass too. Shout out Pub Pass. I was in there recently, and I think they did a variant of like that toasted blonde that was like a peppermint one or something. It was like some like winter seasonal. It was just freaking phenomenal. But that area, you said like hard to get to, but it is now. I mean, it is. It's North Valley for sure. North Valley. But that area is becoming a destination now with Lake Pleasant, Simple Machine, Front Porch. So for like the beer people, and I think Kitsune's not too far.
Yep. It's probably about like 10 minutes away, give or take.
So it's becoming
57th and like Bell, I think, is where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which, I'm looking forward to that trip. Looking forward to that trip for sure. So now that it comes to the part, the segment of the pod where we're looking for, it could be a bold prediction, it could not be a bold prediction, but we're looking for March 24th. We're going to be down here at Wicked Rain. It's also going to be their 1-year anniversary. It's going to be awesome. They're going to have food trucks, live music. It's going to be a good time. But it's also the day that we're crowning our champion. Our championship round is going to be coming to a conclusion there. You could say in the first 3 years of the Arizona Brewers Bracket, it's been a lot of chalk. The shop has made it to the finals all 3 years. They are going to be an absolute monster to stop in this game. Wren House has been a force.
Dark Sky coming on.
Dark Sky was a force last year. We ended our championship matchup last year. Each team had over 1,000 votes for them. So I want to know, when we're down here late March, celebrating the 1-year anniversary, who are we crowning a champion? And do you see a surprise Final Four team?
Rudy, you got to take this one first.
I mean,
I'm going to be 100% honest.
I will agree that there was a lot going on there.
no, you're good.
There was a lot going on there. So we're looking like surprise. Who you think could potentially be a surprise Final Four, and who your champion could be? I mean, Rudy, there's not much to think. You've got the crispy pocket tee on.
I'm representing
boys,
my number 1 seed.
David, Dylan, those guys, they know what they're doing. Let me take you down memory lane really quick. Last year they were on the same side of the bracket as Wren House because they had played in the championship the year before. I decided to doctor it that way to make sure that we got a new champion in there. That final vote between them, it was 1,100 to 1,109 with votes.
Yeah, I remember
there were 9 votes.
I think I remember you posting, and it said 50%, 50%, and then beyond that, it was like you had to post the total tally too,
Yes.
because you were like,
I keep receipts.
I'm not BSing anybody and saying that like
receipts.
here's the difference of 3, the 8 votes that it was.
Yes.
Yeah. Picture.
Photo op. There we go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I were to say that I, took my number 1 pick to be the shop and didn't think that they were going to win, I think I would be, kind of lying to myself at that point. I think it's I'm going to choose the champion, ride with the champion until proven otherwise. I mean, they've been in the finals all 3 years. They've won it twice. You know, I don't think you can go against that. I think my Lee Corso bold prediction, college football style, is saying that I think opening weekend for the bracket, I would be willing to bet that, out of the, 48, so there's 20 matchups because you take out all the 1 through 4 or whatever the case may be.
There's 32, 16 are eliminated day one.
So there'll be 16 matchups. I think out of the 16 matchups, I would not be surprised to see at least 5 of an underdog seed, a lower seed, taking out a higher seed.
I would agree.
I agree.
I think that there's going to be.
I would agree.
I think there's going to be a good deal of kind of, we'll just call it the little Cinderella seed coming in and taking it out at that point. As far as anybody that could potentially really do any sort of outside of your normal suspects who've made it through, and that was part of my research as well, as I took it and I said who finished where what year.
Yep.
And that's how we got in to see if there are trends of people going upwards. I think your usual suspects of the Wren House, the shop, are going to be people that you're going to see getting in that Final Four. My personal one, honestly, I think comes from the cattle bracket of what we're kind of consuming so far. We have Goldwater as number 1 seed. And, kind of a couple others in there. I would be willing to bet that we're going to see a different Final Four come out of that one, I think.
Ooh, I mean, I don't know if that's a slide at me. I'm wearing the Goldwater hat. I got the Dark Sky beer shirt. That's my Final Four prediction.
I see what is in there right now in terms of the teams, and there's a lot of heavy hitters that we haven't even placed it in there. I mean, we've got all top 4 seeds, and so Goldwater has to get through a Pedal House, a Huss, a Simple Machine, Santan, 4 Peaks in there.
That's the thing is those
a heavy bracket.
Those high volume breweries do pretty well. The Peaks, the Huss, the ones that you see in Fry's and Safeway.
Yeah.
Because for a majority of our voting population, right, those are the ones that they see on a regular basis.
Most accessible.
Yeah, most accessible, right? And that's what they're familiar with.
Not going to lie, that's why we chose Barrio. In every Safeway and Fry's.
Right.
I'm going to say the people that are making the most noise this year, because they all make great beer. They all make different beer. But Goldwater's opening up the place on Ray Road. Pedal House has opened up something new. Expanded in the airport. Just expanded their dog park. Who else is making noise? But those people are going to be the most relevant as in this bracket versus people who are just not necessarily sitting back, but they're sticking to their one location. They're maybe not in stores, maybe not accessible in other tap rooms. Accessibility.
Yeah. Accessibility, visibility too, I would say, right? The social media presence as well. The shop does such a good job each year because they're so engaged with what's going on. They're absolute competitors. I believe Dylan over the shop was, a high school athlete, and he understands, okay, I don't want to lose, blah blah. Nobody's and they'll do whatever. It's if they see they're behind in the final 6 hours of a matchup, they're sending, to their email chain, they're messaging friends and family, hey, don't forget to vote. And,
absolutely,
they cover all bases, which makes them a force. Mike, what say you?
Well, and Saguaro Wren House is our number 1, so and I feel pretty good about that. I think they'll win it, but
very tough and Wren House too. If you talk about quality beer across the board, barrel aged, hazy, traditionals, even non-traditionals.
Yeah, I go into their brewery and I just stare at that tap list for a little bit, what in the world? So, but they're my favorite brewery also, but only by just a little bit. I mean, there's a bunch of bunch of good breweries out there.
There's definitely a 1A through 1 L when it comes to the breweries that you're just man, it's splitting hairs trying to figure out who you like more at that point.
Yeah, but if I had to predict a brewery going through, I'm gonna say Simple Machine. They're on our list, and I would not be surprised, and I think they're in the same bracket as Goldwater, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if Simple Machine comes through there, and that's nothing against Goldwater, because they are fantastic.
A true story for this entire Brewers Bracket, I do have a sentimental pick, and it would be if Simple Machine can make it, and stay with me here, if Simple Machine can make it to the championship round here, it's also going to conclude on Wicked Rain's 1-year anniversary, and Wicked Rain is going to be releasing a collab with Simple Machine, a black IPA. It's kind of like Mahomes and Andy Reid winning the Super Bowl inside a State Farm Stadium. It's a little bit like that. So, for me, I think if Simple Machine would be,
it's in the stars.
Would be the best. In the stars. We're reading the tarot cards.
It's funny.
It would be the most amazing story. And they make incredible beer. I've never heard anybody have a bad word to say about Marshall up there. I've not met him personally yet, maybe other than like a quick little handshake. Someday would love to, because I've heard so many great stories about him. But yeah, that would be my in the stars pick.
Yep.
I just want to Lake Pleasant.
Yep.
I'm not going to say that they're going to win the whole thing, but I really want them to do well.
Yes.
Going on their first year, phenomenal beer.
As my local watering hole, I hope so too.
They're not even my local watering hole.
Yeah.
And I just know that they do great stuff there. And it's a fun time.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys touched on that,
Yeah.
because earlier when I was talking with Charlie and Trey, I said Lake Pleasant is definitely like the committee favorite. It was like, you guys all did such a great job. Is if you hadn't turned over a stone in like visiting a brewery, you guys went out there and did it. And there was a few people who hadn't been to Lake Pleasant yet, because the people who had been there hyped it up so much. And when they got there, they had nothing but great things to say. So Lake Pleasant, you guys are on the radar, and everybody loves you. And if you haven't been to Lake Pleasant yet, you need to get out there and visit them. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
But as we wrap this thing up, I just want to take time. I mentioned it with Eric. I mentioned it with Charlie and Trey. When I was building a committee, it was to create distance between my relationships that I have with people in the beer community. To not offend, whatever friendships or whatever connections I may have made with people. And I thought the idea like, hey, let's bring in 15 people. And until, 4 weeks ago, you guys were all strangers to me. We're all getting to know each other. We have a group chats together, and I feel like I've gotten to know you guys. And I could not be more satisfied with how thorough, how knowledgeable, how you guys have just really taken this experience and created a level of comfort. Like I said, I told you guys earlier on a side conversation, I said, once I got to meet you guys or knew what you were all about, it was like, Jesus, take the wheel, man. Like, cool, here's the next process, and here's how I'd like it done. And then you guys have just absolutely, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and looking forward to having you guys around for many, many years.
No
Absolutely.
problem. And
Looking to be here for many, many years.
Yeah. And I just want to throw one thing out there, too, that there's a lot of good breweries in Arizona that didn't even make it into our top 48, and I feel bad for them but that's how good Arizona beers are now. Mm-hmm. We have great breweries.
I was actually having this discussion yesterday, because I work for Pedal House. I do offsite events for Pedal House, and I was at the Chandler Beer and Wine Fest yesterday, or our Wine and Arts Fest, but we were beer there because we're right there, and obviously it made sense. And I was talking with some guy who is from Colorado, and even you consider there's 2 areas that you consider to be like craft beer meccas, and that's like Oregon / Seattle and Colorado, like in general. And he's like, honestly, he's like, as somebody who's an outsider looking in, he's like, we've just been going to breweries all week, and he's like, I would put Arizona in like that top 5, like craft beer, centric communities that just gets it. And it's like, and the crazy thing is, it's still growing. It's still getting better. If you figure like Four Peaks is the oldest brewery out there, you've got a ton that are in that like 5 to 10 range, and even more that are in that 1 to 5 range. It's just only getting better each year by year, and it's nuts to say that, hey, these are the top 48. There's another, another 60, how many, whatever the number is in Arizona. I think the last time I checked, there was like 120 Arizona breweries total or something like that.
123. No,
Yeah, one.
Numbers go.
I was like, I gave you the list, so I don't know. But like 120 or whatever, just to say that, hey, these are the 48, and like when it came to the last 8, we're splitting hairs, and just trying to get that taken care of. So definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, and in talking with other groups and like expanding it to 48, I like the idea of leaving it at 48. And my challenge to anyone who's listening and saying, we didn't make it into the top 48, is like any dream that I would have for my son or any athlete that I've coached is, if you don't make it into the top 48, what are we going to do? Like, let's just try to find a way to make things better moving forward. to get into that 48. What can we do? Look within. What can we do? Can we increase social media engagement? Can we increase visibility? There are little things that you can do. You don't have to be Old Bisbee is in. Old Bisbee, you can't find their beer on a shelf here in the valley. It's because people have had great experiences down there.
Yeah.
You got to go to Bisbee.
Right. You got to go to Bisbee.
Cool spot.
So there are things that you can do, and you don't need to be, 4 Peaks inside of every, Circle K in the state. You don't have to be.
Word of mouth advertising is the number one advertising out there.
For sure.
And what I want to shout out to all the voters is, have fun with it, but it's community. Take it seriously as well. Put some passion into it. Stand up for you guys that you love, but then also make a little bit of an educated decision on others that you may not know. Ask a friend, talk about it. Go take a trip and grab some beer.
Yeah.
Support local, vote very much intentionally, and have fun with it as well.
I love that as a send-off message, too, is it's like, don't talk shit, spread love. That's it, man. Like, love what you love and support it to the end. If your brewery, your local watering hole, you get beat by another one, go in there the next weekend, shake their hands, say good job, try their beer, take a 4-pack to go, and just enjoy the experience. It's a great way to bring, consumers to the digital doorstep of other breweries, and it's going to be a great time. I'm really looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. Either way, at the end of the day, it's Arizona beer. Let's go.
I love it.
Let's do it.
I love it. Thank you guys so much for being on.
Yep, thank you.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
De la negra Tomasa, y cuando se va de casa, triste me pongo.